Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Come on in. It's time. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. This is going to be another beautiful episode with us today, inshallah. But first, we need a simultaneous sip to get ready for this awesome and best part of the week. And all you need is halal liquid of any kind. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the week, thing that makes everything better. It's called simultaneous sip, and it starts now. 3, 2, 1. Bismillah. It was beautiful. So,
and we're back in lockdown.
And we are back in lockdown in Melbourne. After all what we have done, few cases popped up here and there, UK stream, and 6.5 million people in Victoria back. 5-week quick lockdown.
5 days.
5 days, sorry, yeah. Maybe even 5 weeks.
We'll had a heart attack just saying 5 weeks.
Yeah. I've been thinking about ability of the government to announce like a lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
What is proportionality of this? Because even Islamically, the concept of keeping the distance from one another, it's sound mechanism of dealing.
With the pandemic, yep.
With the pandemic, yeah. Argument of the people who don't like this is usually about freedom, where they say if you allow government on a press release to lock you down, shut you down, you're surrendering your freedom, and therefore more abuse of tyrannical power is going. So that makes sense, but to make a link between lockdown for a purpose of pandemic versus some sort of tyrannical regime ordering what to do, it's not immediately clear that these two things are correlated. If you take freedom for granted and you don't push back and you don't have institutions that inform you like free press or a society where citizens elect their leaders and can replace them, then you have a danger of society being taken by some tyrannical government. Usually this is where society is not very well organized, you know. So what do you think of Bitcoin? Like it's a lot of discussion, a lot of things happening.
I actually did not see anything about Bitcoin. So I was in recovering. So
wisdom tooth gone now.
Yeah. But I'm not surprised about the up-down Bitcoin.
That is a general, what I call gamification of this financial markets and economy in general, where everything is becoming like a game and everything is structured as a casino. In this particular case, Elon Musk, Tesla, they announced that they bought 1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, and they said that they will allow sale of cars in Bitcoin. I tweeted something a little bit cheeky, you know, just to see how people will react. If announcement from car company can move price of Bitcoin, are we still talking about stable store of value? If single person company can have such a dramatic impact, is this still a currency that we trust as a store of value? Everybody is fixated in this idea, but the value of Bitcoin is rising. But unfortunately, no one is still using it. We are talking 10 years of Bitcoin. No one is using it really. No one needs it to buy. If I want to buy Tesla with Bitcoin, this is just a hassle, converting to Bitcoin, and then they will be paid in that. And then they will either hope that the Bitcoin goes more in value. So that will be more what? Cash money for their shareholders. So everybody is buying it. Even the miner, somebody was saying, but we are making 100% profit from mining, or somebody saying everybody is profiting. How can it be that everybody is profiting? I could take this pen and sell to you for $1 and you sell to me for $2. And then I sell you back, I don't know, $100. And you sell me back pen for $500. And back and forth, we could, between us in here in the studio, sell this pen between us or a few other people in the same room 100 times. And this could be $1 million. It's almost like when you think about money as a passport. The Bitcoin is passport without a country. And no one needs it to travel anywhere. But you believe tomorrow the whole earth will be called crypto, and Bitcoin will be like United States or a passport for that country. And that's what everybody is betting, just because the price is going up. But the proof is, as they say in the pudding, no one has a need for it. So this is a sad reality where it becomes really almost like a pyramid Ponzi scheme, where if you remove investors who are buying between themselves and those people who are minting it, if you remove that, no one is using it for anything else real. And so although you have ability to buy something with Bitcoin, not only Tesla car or anything else, deflationary nature of the Bitcoin is that everybody is hoping it will rise in price tomorrow. So that's why they in reality are not spending it. Why would you take one Bitcoin today and buy, let's say, one Tesla car, when you could wait until next week and for the same Bitcoin buy 2 Tesla car, which is why in reality, no car or any other product will be priced in Bitcoin. It will be priced in US dollars, let's say, and then on the day, on the spot, it will be converted in Bitcoin just so that you can pay it with the Bitcoin. But nothing will be used to price it. And for people who are holding it, hoping the price will go up, they would not spend it today when the price of it will be maybe tomorrow higher. And on the other hand, if the price starts dramatically falling, who will take it as a payment when the price of it might go down dramatically next week? And as we said, it is not functional medium of exchange because it's not used and the price is too volatile after all of this time for it to be useful. Okay, so are we ready to go to our topic of the day?
Yes, we are.
Let's go for our topic of today. Second last episode in this season. We have a last one in this season next week, inshallah. And I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it. It's going to be, inshallah, live. So I have a little plan.
Stick around to the end of the episode.
That's it. Or skip, you can skip all of it. But it's a not bad topic, this Takaful or insurance. Some interesting analysis we have for you. This whole issue of people today looking to reinterpret certain prohibitions and look at certain transactions in a new way. So today the case is, we're talking about insurance and why is it that some people are saying that insurance is now permissible. In this minority view, it's interesting how they engage in this argument, and I will tell you why that argument does not make sense. If we look at Islamic type of, I don't like to say insurance, but let's say insurance, Takaful. In case of calamity, individuals would contribute resources until adversity was relieved. So they would try to help as a collective body, anybody in need. In Bukhari, you have narration where once there was a altercation between 2 women and one of them was pregnant. So infant died in a womb as a result of it. The blood money was then supposed to be paid by paternal relatives as a compensation. For this was like an accident, but you still pay blood money. So what they have done is they have done combined effort known as akila. So from this idea, we have current takaful, which comes from the word kafala, which means like to guarantee or share responsibility. In takaful, you pool your donations or contribution. An idea is to share responsibility or a risk between the members. Where if you look at the conventional insurance, the idea is to pay to transfer this risk to somebody, third party. So you have idea of sharing the risk through the contribution. That's a mechanism. And in insurance, you are paying somebody
to take
the risk. So what are the underlying contracts? Because this is what we are focusing in this season, contract. In insurance, let's say somebody goes insure a house burns down, they are paid compensation. So they get money. That's a claim. They have a claim, let's say $100,000. Now what they paid, let's say $100 a month. So for that $100 a month, they get $100,000 in case something happens. So the contract in normal insurance is money for money. So you're giving $100 every month, and that transfers the risk for another person who, in the case of anything happening, compensate you. So this is money for money contract. Now, because you don't know the exact amount that you will get, it's also involved uncertainty. Underlying contract is ribawi, it's money for money. Plus, there is a gharar, uncertainty. There are some other issues to consider, which is how the surplus money is invested and so on, but that's not important for me now. I'm more focused on this idea that we have 2 main problems at least. There are maybe more, but here is the riba because it's money for money contract, and there is uncertainty what you are getting. In some cases, for instance, when you have, let's say, insurance in health, when what they are giving you is not money but
a
service, we remove the issue of riba. What is remaining is still gharar, how much you're getting and so on. Now also, this is a big debate whether you are getting service or just money for the service and how that is interpreted. But let's say, for argument's sake, in those health insurance, when you are getting service, that eliminates a contract of riba because not money for money anymore. It's money what you pay for the service you get. But amount of service varies, and therefore the gharar is present. You could have some other types of insurance, some sort of a cooperative insurance these days, where people, again, pool resources and they share some service. For instance, ambulance. You're paying and then you're supporting your local, let's say, ambulance service in your city. And so that is very similar to Takaful. A third, maybe you could say roadside assistance and things of that nature. But again, we need to look at contract for more details. So when you get money for your money, when you get a service, and when you share something like, let's say, ambulance. So what I've seen in this discussion when they talk about insurance, and people who are saying that insurance is not haram, is that they basically ignore riba issue. They misfocus from the contract to something that is not really the issue. But they construct it in a way that as if that is the main issue. And that is in two ways. One is the issue of gharar. So usually when people talk about insurance, first thing, those arguments that focus on this, they say, well, we know there is the issue of gharar. But because today we have these technical analysis and Excel sheets and charts and we follow what's going on. We can do analysis, calculate. That's why you have these actuary studies. You see how much they pay these guys who do these things and calculations. Because of these things, we can price risk very well. We know how to do it. And insurance being mainly about gharar, uncertainty, because we can calculate this risk, factor it in. It basically eliminates gharar as a problem. As an example, they would say something like, when you look at prohibitions such as do not sell what you don't have, this is about certainty of delivery, which it is. Selling what you don't have is about certainty of delivering the item. So if you are talking about selling something on the trees or in the ocean, some fish, this requires a large degree of certainty to deliver. So they say in modern insurance, this is eliminated through this calculation and management of risk and so on. But problem here is that they are thinking as if the result of insurance is reduced in terms of uncertainty through the calculation of risk. What we are talking about in insurance is result of money for money contract that delivers the interest-based profit and uncertainty of that profit. So when I sell you fish from the ocean, fish itself is halal. Reducing uncertainty to make that transaction permissible is only allowed when the transaction itself is permissible. So I reduced some element of uncertainty in subject matter. But what we are having when we are talking about insurance is that what is being delivered is not permissible, it's haram. So we are talking about uncertainty in how much riba there is in the contract. When you calculate your gharar, it does not change the fact that what you are receiving is riba, not something that is permissible. So that calculation of risk would be only applied to pricing of, let's say you're receiving, let's say health insurance. And then they somehow calculate based on, they put something in your body, they know your health and they calculate how many times you'll have to go to hospital and for what. And then they almost like match how much you're paying for everything you're going to get in the hospital. That would be example where that could make sense because the underlying contract would be money for service. But when you have a money for money, like in your normal home insurance, car insurance, life insurance, whatever insurance, income insurance, all of these things just return money. So in all of these, argument is about excess. It's unequal exchange of money for money. And therefore, that is not the issue of just gharar. Only uncertainty is here, how much riba. Having certainty of how much riba you're going to take or give does not make it permissible. Some people say, okay, but what about security guard? Don't we pay security guard as insurance against something, as a risk, deterrent or prevention? Here is, again, people are missing that when you pay security guard, you are not paying money for money. It's a contract where you are hiring somebody, labor, work. I hire you for 4 hours, your time.
Something happens, doesn't happen.
Something happens, doesn't mean it's a different story. You try to do whatever you're supposed to be doing at that time. And it is clear that this case of security guard is nothing like insurance, because you would not request security guard to compensate you for goods that are stolen. Let's say in supermarket, somebody steals $10,000 worth of goods. You don't go to security guard and say, well, I paid you money to guard this, to be deterrent, protect me. Therefore, you are now liable to compensate me, pay me $10,000 for all of these stolen goods. So no one would do that. Nobody would accept that. And therefore, we see that arrangement with security guard is not insuring you against the loss. It's a prevention of a loss, deterrent. They are not going to compensate you for loss. So you were given labor in exchange for money. You hire their services only. They are not exchanging possible loss against whatever you are giving them. That does not make any sense. So we need to be very clear when we are contracting what's in that contract and whether that applies to our situation or not. So when people are bringing these examples and mixing up the whole thing, what we want to know is not whether we should mitigate against the risk. No problem. Try to reduce the risk. We want to reduce the risk. Tie your camel. You go to battle, you wear a shield. We don't seek risk and danger. But that does not make it into money for money contract. That's a money for something else. Now, these people, they say, but, the Prophet ﷺ allowed, in some cases, certain transactions to certain people who needed it, and they see that as being allowed to make money for money where the exchange is not same for same. And so one of these examples is when you might have fresh dates and you exchange it for dry dates. And in general, when you're selling something on the tree, let's say, first of all, whenever you sell something on the tree or by containers, it's very hard to know exactly by kilo. And here we are talking about the fruits that is clear what it is.
Yeah.
So people with experience, when they see ready fruit, they might be able to transact by estimating what it is that they are selling.
Yeah.
But we talked about gharar before, when these are inevitable differences. So you do your estimation. You buy banana or kebab. Each will have different amount of banana, or should I peel it, look inside, is everything good? Or each kebab, does it have an equal amount of grams of meat? These are things that we buy by estimation, because the object of sale is not to profit from these differences that you make errors in. And it is inevitable. You cannot avoid it. So when you have a people who need, let's say, fresh dates, and they have a, let's say, dry. So as a favor, almost like a charity, as a favor to the people, how can you make it one-to-one? You need to estimate these things. What are we selling against what? So people who are in that industry, when they are exchanging, they know basically what is equal to what. And the essence of the knowledge and experience in this case refers to knowing that these fresh dates on tree, when you pick them and they dry, that they will be equal to that, for example, amount of dry dates that you are exchanging them for. So again, you are trying to estimate that end result of these dates, when they get dry, will be exactly like this. So the goal is again to change one-to-one, same for same, because they are like for like. So they want to change same for same. Now, as a side note, let's ask ourselves also another question, just on the higher level. It's not going to change anything in our understanding of what is going on, but it will add the depth of this topic, which is, why would anybody go through the hassle of doing this? Well, it's the same reason why people give loans to someone. Why would somebody give loan if they're going to get something exactly the same back? Why would somebody sell and estimate how much these fresh dates will be when they get dry, just to get the dry one same amount back? The only reason why people would consider doing it are not commercial reasons, non-profit reasons. Hence, it's a charity. It's an act of benevolence, helping people in need who want to have access to that fresh date. So you are estimating to the best of your ability what is the number that we are talking about. But if you have the same for same, like in the hadith of Bilal, when he exchanged 6 kilos for 3 kilos. In this case, we don't need to estimate. Both of these dates are same kind except for the quality. So we don't need now estimation. We can put it on the scale and see what it is. Now we know this is bigger, more than this. So it's riba. So what we learn from this? Number one, these are two different types of dates. One is dry, one is wet. So you do your best to estimate to be still 1-on-1. When it is the same, then you do the same. You don't need the estimation. So it is beyond me how they use this idea to say that exchange of money 1-to-1 can happen now in insurance because of that. And those who advocate this position are making it sound as if contract of insurance where you have a money for money exchange is with intention to eliminate the riba in exchange, unequal exchange of money. What kind of insurance business would it be where their calculation of the risk is a simply 1-to-1 transaction? You pay what you're gonna get, and the aim is to have at par transaction and exchange. No insurance contract is structured or thought like that. Everybody is thinking that this is not going to be 1-to-1. And actually, in reality, all the calculation of the risk and analysis is to return not at par, equal 1-to-1 exchange. It's to return other than 1-to-1 exchange with the customer. Otherwise, what would be in it for a business? And just like with a loan, we enter into money for money contract that is returning the profit. The issue is not can operators of any business charge and make money and make it commercial venture. Issue is always how do they make it, from what. So when we have a money for money insurance, they are estimating only their risk in terms of their own calculation, how to make a profit out of that endeavor. So elimination of the risk, pricing of the risk, all of these analysis, they are there not to say we will take only enough money to cover the risk for you and you get exactly back what you gave us. So it's 1-to-1 between us and you. No, the whole thing is actually estimation of variation across the group that is being insured, where they know that on average we will take this much money, we will give this much claims, and overall we will make this much profit. On the individual level, this means nothing. Everybody knows that every individual contract and participants will be uneven exchange. And the reason why it works is because the law of average. Some people will pay much more into insurance, and that will be uneven from this side. Other people will get much more in terms of the claim from the other side. And the only calculation here is that these two sides as a group average out. But individually, every single individual contract will be uneven exchange of money for money. Here it's worth noting that in Takaful, you have same situation where somebody gives, somebody takes more, but the types of contract is not money for money exchange. And if you need to understand the differences between the contracts, the way that they are done and different rules that apply, check some of our previous episodes, because that's the essence of riba, where the type of contract that you are executing will determine if you can gain, if you can exchange with uneven amounts. So just to summarize this point, because this is a very fine point, contract of insurance is money for money. The hadith that talks about fruit, different types of dry and wet fruit being exchanged, estimation is used to make it at par. While in insurance, their analysis of risk and so on is not to make contract of 1-to-1 at par, but to make it at other than par with the profit, to include that component. Okay, and therefore price it appropriately. So these two examples, they have nothing to do with each other, which is why Hadith of Bilal explains that if you have this quantity of dates for that quantity and both are known, it's a pure and simple riba. That is why it is very important that when we study contracts. We want to see that we understand what we are exchanging and avoid profiting or exchanging money for money at other than par. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So for people who missed our discussion on gharar and when is gharar actually allowed and when it is not, they can visit, I don't know what's the episode we talked in the beginning of this season. I just want to explain that I know that people are concerned and they want to make it easy for people to run the business. All I'm saying is that there is a difference between being concerned for people. Even when Bilal radiallahu anhu was giving that gift to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was doing it because he had a good intention. But still the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, Bilal, 1 sa of dates against 2 sa of dates, still riba. Don't do it like that. And he gave him solution. He said, sell the dates for money and take money and buy what you want. So we need also not to make analogies that don't make sense, but say, okay, well, this is money for money. What we want to do is we want to break that contract of money for money in some specific way and create a service for people where they truly benefit. And one of these things is you have different models now based on waqf model or different kind of models. And then it breaks the links between money that goes in and they're benefiting. But the idea is that there is a huge difference between participants who are doing it to share responsibility versus transfer responsibility. And criticism of certain Takaful operators in how they take that surplus to themselves and how they do certain things does not make money for money type of insurance
allowed,
permissible. You understand? So I hope that we'll be more careful. And now, as this is our second last episode, what I'm thinking next week is to do a live session. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to post in our Facebook private group and also on Telegram about our next episode, live episode, where I ask you as a participants, let's say 10, 15 questions, and we use the Kahoot, yeah? Kahoot? Mm-hmm. So you download that app and I in live, in real time, put a question up, and then through your app on your mobile
website.
Or on the website, you click, and then it will show us people who guessed it correctly and who is the winner. So maybe we give some special gift to the winner, huh? What do you think?
Sounds good.
So I'll think of a gift. I have one particular book a friend of mine wrote. I think he'll be happy. I will share the details of the book. It's about Islamic finance. And so how does that sound as an idea?
Sounds like a good idea.
Follow us on those sites. And inshallah, in the next couple of days, I'm going to put details. Let me know what you think. I got some equipment that allow me streaming and these things. So I hope, inshallah, it will work. Thank you very much for your time. Inshallah, we hear you from you live next week. All the best. Assalamu alaikum.